Assalamualaikum and hi, welcome to my video. On this video, I would like to share you about the negative impact of tourism industry in aspect of social in Australia. Before we go further, let me introduce myself first. I'm Muhammad Amirul bin Amir Mahmud. I am 22 years old. I come from Seremban Negeri Sembilan. Without hesitate time, let me show you the interesting place in Australia. According to UNWTO, which stands for the United Nations World Tourism Organization, tourism is characterized as the activities of individuals for recreation, business, and other purpose. Besides, travel is to stay in place outside their typical environment. This case study attempts to gain access to tourism activity details and the disadvantages of the destination tourism industry. Let me move forward to the negative impact of tourism industry in the aspect of social in Australia. The first one is the changing of social. Social change is characterized as change in the manner that society carry on. In Australia, tourism activity indirectly has bad consequences in the social lifestyle of the resident and tourists. The social lifestyle here is described as a way of life of individual, communities, or organizations to manifest daily in dealing with their physical, psychological, social, and economic environments. The negative effect from the tourism industry can be found in residents who may follow the nasty social way of life of tourists. For instance, they might follow unhealthy lifestyle such as drinking alcohol and taking drugs. The changing of ecosystem is the second negative impact of tourism industry in Australia. The ecosystem can also be degraded by tourism due to social. This is because of waste and contamination are made by tourists, which are through air, water, and communication waste. Giving tourist administration will adjust the presence of the place. Uncontrolled or abuse appearance by tourists can corrupt place, notable destination, and landmarks. This is on the grounds that when water is scanned, tourists can overpower the accessible gracefully and things will be wild. For the third negative impact of tourism industry in Australia is social influence in cultural authenticity. According to Mat Shahzalal, probably culture is the most narrated word in tourism anthropology. Likewise, Australia has a few hundreds of culture. This is corporate historical center, celebration, trade, theaters, shows, and film. Sadly, there are several negative social impacts on the tourism industry in Australia in terms of culture. For instance, the culture has an aftermath on the displacement of residents for tourism development. This is shown when the tourists affect the culture of place that they visit in the kind of vandalism, bad commentary, unnecessary photography, and disrespect for some old culture. Last but not least is crime rates.
HANI Stanton 2020 has said the growth of casinos and other gambling facilities can encourage not only the tourists to part with their cash, but also the local population. Human trafficking also may be held secretly. Criminal activities like theft and pickpocketing is really common to happen with the tourists as the victims. This phenomenon will taint the good name of the country and leave a high impression to many people.
For the last session in this video, I would like to give the suggestion to improve the negative impact of tourism industry in Australia. As we can see, there are many negative consequences on the tourism industry in Australia. However, things still can be controlled and improved. One of the solutions for the negative impacts or aftermath in social aspect is to recruit the skilled and certificate people to tourism activity among the residents. Next, there are various ways to maintain the beauty and cleanliness of Australia's existing tourism area. Of the solution is the government or the responsible party should control and study the data of the number of tourist arrival in the country. Besides, the authorities also needs to identify areas of frequent tourist attraction so that this place will be given more attention. Furthermore, Australia must improve the cultural impact of the tourism industry to increase the demand for historical and cultural exhibits, which is one of the positive consequences. For example, the cultural tourism can offer tourists extra value and excitement. Traditional craft, ceremonies, and sacred sites are also marketed, such as the commercialization of Uluru climbing, one of the Angaru people sacred practice. This is because majority of the tourists like to learn and see new things that can add more knowledge and experience values in them. Last but not least, the government can improve the rules and regulation of the area, place, or country. In the other words, the government or authorized can also impose penalties or appropriate action on tourists that are found guilty of committing or harming the residents. This is because if the country has a high number of cases of criminal study, the total tourist visits will significantly decrease because of fear of unsafe environment that can harm them. In conclusion, as we know, tourism activity has become the most important component in the development of some countries. In a nutshell, we can see that especially with regards to economic and cultural experience, the results of expanding tourism to Australia still has negative impacts. When negative impacts of tourism occur, which is through depletion of social system, serious effects should be implemented to protect and improve on this area. It is very cultural to have a responsible tourism policy to minimize negative impacts. That's all from me. Thank you.